to Tim Conley Drums. Today I wanted to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's always something that I talk about when I'm teaching and when I'm asked to do speaking engagements regarding drumming and music and that sort of thing. And that's groove versus chops. What is the more important of the two? Why the two of them should be developed and how they should be developed and all that sort of thing. So I do believe that chops are important, and I do believe that it's cool to have great drum fills that you can play, but they have to be linked to grooves. Chops on their own, I'm just not a fan of the gospel chops thing. Now, I appreciate the skill level that those guys have. The problem is that young people get obsessed when they see a gospel chops guy blowing it out around the drum kit. They get obsessed with that. And two things happen. Either they attempt to try and copy what they're seeing and they fail, or they actually develop the ability to play like this, but guess what? Nobody wants to play with them. Because drummers that overplay, drummers that play too many fills, too much chops, they don't get the gigs. The drummers that get the gigs are the ones that can groove. The drummers that touch you in your soul. The drummers that make you move. In my opinion, the greatest drummers of all time are the drummers that have successfully done something to you, not only as a musician, but as a person, meaning that the music that they played, the drum beat that they used, affected you on a spiritual level. Not just, oh, that's a cool beat. Not just like that. Like Ringo heavily affected me, Jeff Piccaro heavily affected me. The groove guys, the guys that just lay it down, Levon Helm. These are the guys that really, really affect me. Manu Katché. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the chops guys too. I mean, if you look at Vinnie Colaiuta is the whole package. He can play anything. He can play anything chops-wise. He can play anything groove-wise. But let me tell you something about Vinnie, because I heard him say this because I attended his masterclass. He kept saying that, yes, I've got the skills. I got the chops. I can pull out all the wicked stuff that blows minds and people go, oh my God, how did he do that? But what he said was, all that shit doesn't matter. What really matters is, how do you touch people? What do you play groove-wise to emotionally affect your audience? That's key. And that's what I tell all my students. Every time you sit behind the drums and you play with an artist, play with a band, even playing with a backing track, it doesn't matter what you're playing. Always play with soul and from the heart, and play what's right for the song. I'll tell you a couple stories. One time, I auditioned for this band, and I was studying with a guy that was a chops guy, and I was working on his specific thing. And he was a great groove player, but he was known for playing linear funk. And linear funk is amazing. I love linear funk. I love the grooves. I love the fills, and I love everything about it. However, I learned the hard way from this audition, nobody else cares. They care about groove, they care about soul, and they care about, from a musician standpoint, what can the drummer do to make everybody else in the band feel good about what they're playing and make the music sound good. That's the key. Making the music sound good. Forget about your ego. So I go to this audition and I thought, I'll show them. And I started showing off with my heavy duty drum fills and all the new chops that I learned. And these guys are looking at each other like, what the hell is this guy doing? And they came up to me at the end of the audition and they said, you're a great drummer, man, but you're not for us. And at the time, my ego got in the way, you know, and I just went, okay, thanks very much. And I left. But as I'm driving home, I'm like, what do they mean by I'm not for them? Like, did they not see when I came out of those blazing 30-second note fills around the toms? And did they not see that hand and foot patterns that I was utilizing? And it's what's wrong with those guys? Oh, I'm great and forget about them, you know? Childish ego. But I learned something from that day. I learned that none of that shit matters. What matters and what I should have done is just sit in the pocket and play what the songs required. Now, since that day, which was a long, long time ago, we're talking a long time ago, late 80s, early 90s, I matured. Took some time. We all mature. I slowly matured as a musician. And I realized over time, the old Steve Gadd saying that fills bring the thrills, but groove pays the bills. Since that audition, I've never ever not succeeded in an audition. Now, that being said, doesn't mean I played with every single band I auditioned for. I mean, you know, like around, say, 2002 or 3, let's say I had, 10 auditions. Obviously, I could only, if it was touring, I could only play with one band. If it was local, maybe I could play with 2 or 3 bands and have to figure out how I'm going to fit it all in. That happened to me in the past. I played in numerous bands at the same time. Obviously, I couldn't do all 10, but I was successful in all the auditions because I played what was required for the music. I came prepared. I wrote everything out so that I knew exactly what I was supposed to play. And I always played to the point where, what can I do to make these guys relax so they can play well too? Because there's one thing I noticed over the years of playing and teaching is that you've got to play the right tempo. If you're speeding up the tempo, the guitar player, the bass player, and especially the singer, they can't relax because they're all worried about the drummer speeding or slowing things down. Because sometimes you speed up, and then you realize, and then you slow it back down. And while music does and should have this kind of a flow, it shouldn't be like this. Meaning fast, slow, that's a nightmare. But music breathes. So you're going to have these little, like waves, but gentle rolling kind of waves you would see on a beautiful spring or fall day if you're out in the country and you're at a lake. You don't see massive wind-driven explosions hitting on the rocks from the water. You see these gentle waves when it's calm. That's what I try and strive for. A metronome is definitely going to help you. I try not to be robotic. You don't want to be a slave to that metronome in terms of being robotic, unless the music you're playing requires that. If the music requires that very slave-driven groove, then do play it. But if you're in a situation like if you're playing, like I played in the Neil Young tribute, even though we were playing to a metronome, and Neil never did, by the way. Neil never recorded a single tune with a metronome. They tried to get him to do it, but he refused because he felt like the music wasn't breathing. And this is what I'm talking about. Now, while I did play with a click with the Neil Young, because it was a theater show, and the reason I had to play with a click was not only because of keeping the tempo solid, but there was stuff going on behind me, and a lot of the stuff was choreographed to what was going on behind me in terms of a film being played, And a lot of tribute bands, they put film in behind the drummer on a screen at theater gigs. Same thing with the INXS tribute I was in, and Rush tribute, and a bunch of other tribute bands. Beatles tribute, I've been in so many where, well, the Beatles tribute, I never ever played to a click, and the Beatles never did anything to a click. Probably, I don't know 100%, but Ringo's time was amazing. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that. You want to play in such a way, even with a click, where, you've got this flow that goes like this. Now, like I said, if you're playing in a situation where you're playing 90s dance tunes or you're playing pop music, there is that straight element of being right in on top of the beat. John Bonham used to play quite behind the beat. And again, Zeppelin didn't do a lot of their recordings quantized to a click. A lot of it was free flowing and the time moved. And that's, you know, Zeppelin wouldn't be Zeppelin without that feel that Bonham brought to the music. So I believe that groove is king. Groove is absolute king. So many young kids are obsessed with having to play fast. I don't think speed is king. Groove is king, whether it's at 55 beats per minute or 200 beats per minute. Groove is going to be king. And when you're playing, aim for that pocket. Doesn't have to be rigidly stiff, but aim for that pocket and make your fills, make the whole song sound good and make your groove sound good. Now, that being said, there's drummers out there that are quite famous for their fills. Neil Peart from Rush, absolutely brilliant drum fills. Ray Luzier from Korn, I love Ray's fills. You know, they're fantastic. They suit the music. Because I know there's going to be guys out there that are going, well, what about so-and-so and so-and-so, and he does this and he does that. Well, it has to be appropriate for the music. If you watch Slipknot, for example, Elon, I think his name is, he plays incredible drum fills, but it suits the music. So it's all got to be related to what the music is. If the chops are required, if crazy chops are required for the music, then play them. But if you're playing Sugar Pie Honey Bunch, you just want to stick to that groove, and there's only one fill that you need to know, and it's the infamous Motown fill. Boom, da-da-da-da, you know? That's all you need to know. So play to the music. Don't get obsessed about overplaying and playing chops just for the sake of playing chops. Use your chops wisely, intelligently, and make the music flow and make your bandmates happy, make the audience happy. There's nothing worse than a drummer that overplays and plays the wrong things when he is performing. So I hope this video today gives you guys just a little bit of guidance into the world of professional drumming. If you want to be a pro, a lot of people think that when you're a pro level drummer, you've got to have these crazy chops. There's lots of really great pro level drummers that don't have crazy chops. Look at Bernard Purdie. Have you ever seen crazy chops from Bernard Purdie? I've seen great fills, musical fills associated with the groove that Bernard is playing, but I've never seen him doing Bonham triplets and, you know, crazy drum fills like what Neil does around the drum kit. I've never seen Bernard all the way around the drum kit because the music that he's playing doesn't require that. But his groove, his pocket, the soul that he puts into the music, the place that he comes from, there is nobody better than Bernard for laying down that groove, man. He is definitely another one that's king of the groove. So check out some groove players. Go out there and type in, you know, Google the greatest groove drummers of all time and check them out because your ability to succeed in the music world is not based around chops. It's based around groove and fills associated with those grooves. Okay? So if you're playing a shuffle, you want to play fills that are going to be linked in, triplet based, and linked into that shuffle feel. If you're playing 16th notes, you can play a little bit wider variety spectrum of fills, but you want to make sure that the fills fit the song and fit the groove. So that's what I hope you guys get out of this today. Don't learn useless fills and chops that you're never ever going to use. Try and link up specific grooves that you're playing to fills that are going to work with those grooves. That's the point that I'm trying to make because you're wasting your time. Practice, practice, practice the right things. Don't just wank. Learn to branch out, take your fills, put them into your grooves, and play in musical phrases like 4-bar phrases, 6-bar phrases, 8-bar phrases, 12-bar phrases, 16-bar phrases, that sort of thing, and become a musical drummer. Those are the working drummers of the world. The Kenny Aronoffs of the world are the guys that know how to do that. They know how to phrase things properly. They know how to combine the right fills with the right groove. All right, I hope I helped you guys out a little bit today. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, keep drumming. See ya.